spread across a number of different projects. Primarily, I got into the space from a customer service background. So I've spent about 15 years in the IT and technology industry focusing on customer service, how we can deliver different technologies, applications, services, products to users around the world at enterprise scale. So I've worked for some of the biggest companies in the world like Unilever, Pepsi, etc. And really focusing on enterprise scale customer service delivery. And that was a massive gap in the blockchain space in 2017 and remains to be so. So I took advantage of that. I got in touch with various different projects, offered them my services, and through that became team member and advisor to a handful. That's expanded recently. Now, obviously, we're into July 2018. I'm now an advisor of 9 different ICOs, STOs, community coins. I also am a team member on 2, and recently just taken a permanent position on 1, which essentially means I'm not just there for the product launch, I'm not just there for the ICO and setting up their strategy, but I'm going to be on the project long term, 3 years minimum. So I am heavily involved in the blockchain space. Folk would recognize it as cryptocurrency side more than enterprise level blockchain, the kind of stuff that IBM are doing, like wallet services we're doing. We talked about that earlier. This is more crypto based. Now my talk today is going to be about essentially how crypto is emerging into actually delivering services to the public, to various different industries. A lot of people just see it as investment opportunity. A lot of people just see it as, some case, scams. There's many scams in crypto. I've been scammed before. I can tell you that story later if need be. But as I say, it's going to be focused around how blockchain is being used in the industry and what I see as the future of cryptocurrency and blockchain over the next 2 to 5 years. And even the clicker doesn't work. Oh, no, it does. So, anyone unfamiliar with the terms ICO, STO, community coin? Oh, okay, we have a couple. So an ICO is an initial coin offering, and that's essentially how most of the cryptocurrency projects as we know them today can come into being. So the originals, your Bitcoin, there was no fundraising. It got launched, people started using it, people started mining it. Ethereum was probably one of the biggest ICOs initially, and what that means is that they sold a whole heap of their coins for a fixed fee before they hit market, before they hit exchanges, and everyone had the opportunity to jump in and buy some. These days, that has morphed into a bit of a comedy show, if I'm honest. You see initial coin offerings that essentially just fire up, I have an idea, or I have a plan for a project. Some cases they've not even just started their development yet. It's literally a white paper, which is more or less the idea written down, and they're asking for millions and millions of pounds in investment from anyone who will listen to them. That's the case with, if we went back to late 2017, early 2018, probably 90%. I'd say these days they're really not getting the funding, so probably down to maybe 40 or 50%. Most projects these days are starting to come with a real project plan, a roadmap. Some cases you've even got minimum viable products or beta products that you can go in and start using. But the ICO space is really around the utility of a token. How are they using a token on the blockchain to make their business work or make whatever business they're attacking better? Security token offering is something that's relatively new. That is, it's Americanized really. It essentially means you can buy equity in a blockchain business, and people are, instead of going down the road of an IPO, which is a traditional route for fundraising in these spaces when you're going to mass market, it's a STO. So you can still buy the tokens, you're still giving them investment to get tokens, but the token is tied directly to the equity of the company, and it is acknowledged throughout widely that this is an investment. This is not a utility, it's not a license, it is an investment in the project. And the benefits of that means if you follow the correct regulations, then you can launch pretty much any country in the world. Community coins is something that I was relatively new to up until about a month and a half ago. This is somebody or this is projects that essentially they'll just build a coin, build a project, build a solution, and give it away. No investment required, no coin offering, no public sale, nothing. they will just give it away. They'll give tokens away, whatever the volume is, and they'll give it to the public and let it spread out through the big wide world and see how it goes. And if they make money out of it, great. If they don't make money out of it, the whole thing is about giving blockchain services back to the community. The vast majority of community coins at the moment are really currency based, so they're trying to bring down the likes of Dash or Bitcoin Cash and things like that, so they're going direct out to market with a token that can be used as a currency mainly, but there are others out there. The reason I've explained that is because essentially that is my background. That's all the different kinds of projects that you've got in cryptocurrency and how those projects get their funding, how they're known out in the big wide world. So if going next, I've got a list of all the different industries, well, not all the different industries, that's a massive overstatement. I've got a list of a number of different industries that you've got some blockchain projects that I'm interested in coming along. Again, none of this is financial advice. Please don't don't go start investing your own money in these. But what I wanted to illustrate with this is it's not just about currency. A lot of people see blockchain as Bitcoin, and that is not the case whatsoever. There's a lot of projects here that are actually already up running and have products in that space. I'll pick a few out. Currency is straightforward. You've got a currency that can be used, transfer of financial service of one type or another. You get into social media, you've got Raven is a great example up the top there. They've launched their application, you can download it now. That is a complete invisible app. It is completely anonymous. There's no services that are logged. None of your chats are logged. Your username is not logged. Everything is just you log on and away you go. You can talk to whoever you want and it's completely anonymous. You can even hide the app on Android. You can't do it on iOS yet, but on Android, you can hide the app inside another app. You can have a little bit of the app icon, you click on it, and then Raven appears. You can hide it in your weather, you can hide it anywhere you want. It's an app for the people that are losing faith in WhatsApp and losing faith in Facebook and things like that. Well, we're at the IoT/blockchain, so it would be remiss of me not to mention Streamer. Anyone familiar with the Streamer project? That is IoT on the blockchain. They are using IoT sensors on the blockchain to transfer data on many different spaces. The key one that they're using in all their videos at the moment is IoT sensors within your car. So you've got a sat nav at the moment. Your sat nav will tell you where to go. Your sat nav will tell you roughly how long it will take based on the latest information that they've got on their central database. The advert that Streamer are putting out there is you can have an IoT sensor in your car and you can sell the information of your journey to other people around the world, and you can then buy the information from them back on the blockchain. So your IoT sensor will say, I am stuck in traffic, I've been here for 5 minutes, the weather outside is sunny, there's a high chance of rain later on based on my location and the humidity in the air, etc., etc. If you are traveling past my location right now, it's likely to take you an extra 15 minutes based on the conditions I'm seeing right now, real time, with my IoT sensors. And that information is then transferred and stored on the blockchain and sold. I thought it would be a decent one to call out, given that we're at an IoT/DLT summit. So moving along, banking. Banking is a big one now. It's one of the ones I'm going to focus on. There are some really crazy things happening in the blockchain world in banking. In the next few months, there's going to be banks coming out that you can take loans, mortgages, anything on based on your cryptocurrency wallets. So it's all the same rules. You've got to be vetted. You've got to have, the banks will carry out due diligence on you as an individual. They'll make sure that you're good for whatever you're borrowing. But the fact that I can go to a specific bank, my crypto bank is one of my projects, so I'm not looking to shill it or anything, but just I know most about it. My crypto bank, based on your holding of my crypto bank's tokens, you can take out a mortgage, you can take out a loan, etc. You'll have a credit card, everything, just purely based on crypto. They're doing debit cards that you can use in stores on Visa. They're doing payment rings to replace chip and pin. You just have a ring that you wear on your finger and you hold it up to a contactless machine instead of getting your card out or getting your phone out. Yeah, that is an exciting space, and the speed in which some of these businesses are achieving the licenses to operate in the countries that they're going to operate in is what's really impressive. The governments are giving them the licenses to do it. And it's been really quiet and under the radar up until now, I think. Moving along, agriculture I'll go on to in one of the other slides, so I won't go into too much detail on that. Charity, some great things happening in the charity space as well. Energy. Energy is a good one. So energy at the moment is really dictated by centralised energy providers. Scottish Power locally is a good example. At the moment, you can, if you live in Edinburgh, there's only a finite amount of energy providers that you can actually go and source your energy from. If you live in somewhere like Brazil, then there's even less opportunity for you, and it's more expensive in some cases. What a lot of these energy companies are doing, Energy Premier as an example, is that you can store energy, and energy networks are linked throughout the world, but you can store energy and sell it to somebody on the other side of the world at a set fee, whatever the base fee of that blockchain is. And that means that everyone across the world has the opportunity to purchase energy at the same rate. And this is going to have a massive impact to things like Bitcoin mining and things like that. That's really where the ideas have came from. But moving forward, you can see real opportunity there for countries that are less fortunate than us and have less access to cheap renewable energy. You go along, guys. These are just examples of the kind of spaces where blockchain and cryptocurrency is innovating the current markets. I'm going to go into more examples later on. Given that I do have an extra 10 minutes on my time, has anyone got anything, any particular industry they want to call out? And I can talk about one of these. Anything in particular? Something stand out? No? Okay, I'll move on along. So the first one I was going to talk about is finance. So how's blockchain helping our finance industries? Transaction speeds. With the correct token, I can move money from here to America at scale in under 30 seconds. You know, a few clicks of an app and away it goes. Bitcoin wouldn't do it. Bitcoin's too slow, but there is tokens out there with those kind of transaction speeds. Transaction costs. There's a really good one, and I've not put it in the key milestones. Milestones don't cover everything, guys. These are just some ones that I pulled out. But there was quite recently, about 2 months ago, there was $100 million of Bitcoin moved between US and China, and it cost about $3 to move it. And if you look at that compared to what banks charge, banks will typically charge about 1% for those kind of transactions. It's really astronomical in terms of the reduction in costs for moving finance around. Reporting and compliance, blockchain. I'm assuming everyone here knows how a blockchain works. Is anyone who doesn't know how blockchain works in terms of storing information and storing data? No? Cool. So, okay, so I'm not a tech. I'll start with that now. So this is my simplistic explanation. If it's a peer-to-peer network, and essentially it's based on majority rules. So the blockchain is a series of blocks that are put together. Everyone shout me if you disagree. Blockchain is a series of blocks that are put together. The last block that's getting added to the chain is always the most recent, and every block behind it can never be changed without completely redesigning the chain and completely relaunching the chain. So how the blocks are created, I'm sending money from me to John down the road, or I'm sending some sort of a data transition on the chain, and everyone in the room has a node. Everyone's node sees my transaction, confirms that it's real, confirms that they acknowledge it, and based on the amount of confirmations that particular chain requires, once it hits that amount, it will be added into the block. Once the block's full, it will be hit the chain. Anyone disagree? Great, I'm delighted. So reporting and compliance, you can't really fraud it from a blockchain point of view. Whatever sits in front of your blockchain, whatever front ends people put onto it, whatever applications and tools that are used that sit in front of a blockchain, yes, I'm not going to suggest that there's not going to be some ambiguity in what people can and can't do on that side, but once it's on the blockchain, it is there. It is unfraudable. Auditing, you know, it's easy to pull that off. As long as the information's there, it's all held in the different blocks, you just pull it off, away you go. Digitized assets, that's something that I'm getting more and more interested in at the moment. I'm speaking to one project, Ostoya, who are based in Switzerland. They are digitizing gold and silver on the blockchain. So essentially what they're doing, they're having amounts of gold, 50 grams, 150 grams, a kilo, etc., tied into a tokenized asset. And from there you can then transfer the ownership of that through blockchain technology. And in the finance world, that becomes really helpful for managing assets. So if you have any type of physical asset, any type of asset in the real world, you can tokenize that asset and you can put it onto a blockchain. Then to transfer the ownership of that asset or to track it, whatever that may be, all you have to do is transfer that token to somebody. And there's no deeds in real estate. There's no deeds that have to be signed in terms of signing a car over. You don't have the I can't remember what the code is, but the pink slip that you have to do. It's all done on a tokenized basis, which should, in theory, make everything a lot easier or faster. Milestones, these are just things that I threw up there. May 2009, first Bitcoin transaction for goods. Anybody know what that was? It's quite a famous one. Go on. 2 pizzas, that's right. How much the Bitcoin would be worth today? It was, yeah, you're very close. So I don't know what the exact value of Bitcoin is right now, but I think it was somewhere in the region of $184 million that they paid for 2 pizzas. Most expensive pizzas ever sold. So moving on a bit, the first crypto payment provider launched, BitPay. I'm sure many of you have heard of them. 1,000 merchants globally in September 2013 accepting Bitcoin. Now that was a massive milestone at that point. These days, that's small beans. There's literally millions of online retailers that accept Bitcoin now. And there's also a number of projects out there that are looking to change the way that retailers opt in or opt out of accepting Bitcoin or accepting cryptocurrency. Front-end browsers and plugins for your Chrome browser, etc., are being designed right now that allows you to have an online Bitcoin wallet that will convert, the plugin will convert your cryptocurrency into USD, GBP, euros, whatever the case may be, pay the retailer, and you're spending your crypto, the retailer's getting their fiat, everyone's happy. It's a bit buggy at the moment from what I've seen. There's a few delays, but that's coming. Soon it's going to be a case of that any retailer you want that accepts currency online, you're going to be able to pay with your cryptocurrency. Yeah, no worries. Moving on down, June 2015, 14 bank leaders announced investigations into blockchain during their annual publications. What I mean by there is their end-of-year reviews, typically launched in April. Top of my head, Santander were on that list, RBS were on that list. There was a lot. That was, again, under the radar. I didn't even know about it until I started researching for this slide deck, I've got to be honest. And moving on from that, there was the first ICO achieved licenses to operate in Europe. So this was an interesting one for me. This was in Estonia. Surprise, surprise. If you're involved in the ICO space, you'll see how easy it is to get away with things in Estonia. The first bank, the first crypto bank, and I did touch on that earlier, achieved licenses to use cryptocurrency, fiat currency, exchange them for banking services. And that was in October of 2017. Still haven't launched yet, that in particular bank, but they were the first one to get licenses. Many now. Estonia, there's US, Malta, etc. You know, US is a big one with Messenger Bank, but there's a lot of others out there. April 2018, Santander launched their blockchain-based payment app. You can go and download it now, Android App Store. If you want to use the Santander app to transfer payments from your mobile to anyone in the world, they're using Ripple technology, not XRP. So there's a bit of confusion there. Ripple has a number of blockchain technologies and blockchain service offerings. Santander are using Xcurrent. XRP is on Xrapid, I think it is, top of my head. So it is blockchain based, but it's not actually XRP Ripple based. And then in May 2018, HSBC completes the world's first bank-led international transaction using blockchain. What I mean by that is transferring a significant amount of money between 2 banking organisations. That was from the UK to, again, it was to China, and that was a multi-million-pound blockchain transaction, successfully done. Moving forward, we've got farming. So I did say that it was going to touch on agriculture. This one's quite interesting to me because I'm seeing some of the benefits that are coming of it in some of the projects that I'm doing at the moment. So I'm not going to trip over that, I'm going to walk back around this way. So how blockchain benefits farming. There's 100% trackable crops from seed to shelf. This goes back to the asset tracking that I talked about earlier. If you can track from a farmer's field to the shelf exactly where the crops have came from and where they've been every step of the way, at the moment there's massive challenges in that. A lot of people say they do it. You can go into Tesco, you can go into Sainsbury's and it'll say it was grown in John's field in Bournemouth or whatever. The amount of inaccuracy in that at the moment is thought to be about 70%. So everything gets lumped into the back of a tractor. It gets taken to the local farmer's market. From local farmer's market, it all goes into the back of a lorry. From a lorry, it goes to a distribution warehouse, etc., etc., etc. And it's crazy the amount of inaccuracies that I'm seeing. Well, I say I'm seeing. I'm not looking at these audits, but I'm looking at the reports that are coming out online and how blockchain is selling itself with the likes of Nagracoin. etc., is we can tokenize a farmer's tractor, tokenize a farmer's cropping device, so that we can then see exactly where the crops are coming from, wrap it in a shelf, put a label on it, and wrap it in a bag, put a label on it, and everywhere that bag goes, it will have the same label. We can scan it, we can see exactly where it came from every step of the way. Blockchains enabling instant marketplace transactions. That might seem a bit of a strange thing, but in Australia, as an example, there's farmer marketplace transactions going through upwards of 8 figures in one day. And that's a lot of money to be moving around. Blockchain's enabling people to spend that money quickly and easily without having banknotes, without having credit checks, without having all the rest of it. It's a straight transaction. Give me the money, I give you the goods instantly. There's a lot of other things in here. There's smart contract enabling for pre-marketplace deals. So I'm going to bring X amount of potatoes, you're going to give me X amount of cryptocurrency, get their jobs done, smart contract. Some people call it escrows and things like that, but you get where I'm going with this. There's been a few recent milestones that have been hit in the agriculture space that have been really interesting and worth watching. So the first international farming deal was made between USA and China. That was, again, an 8-figure deal made internationally using Bitcoin. In May 2018, over 1,000 farms listed in the US is accepting Bitcoin as payment method. You can actually go online and see a map of that if you Google it. They're spread throughout the whole country, really interesting. And then in May 2018, probably one of the most exciting ones for the agriculture space when it comes to cryptocurrency, Mobius tokens were launched as an acceptable payment type on the producers market, which is one of the biggest marketplaces for farming in Australia. Now, they already had Bitcoin and things like that on there, but this was the first, what you would call an altcoin, to really break through and have that level of exposure within the marketplace, which a lot of people found quite exciting. So, computing is another one I thought worthwhile pulling out there. So, blockchain enables resource distribution, security, again, digitization of assets, reporting, compliance, information sharing, a lot of things that you'll see overlap here between other ones. There's a lot of interesting things in this space. So anything that's on the blockchain you can share with people. You can sell, you can buy, anything at all. So if you look at a project like Golem, and I don't know, has anyone heard of Golem? Yep, familiar with it? Some people. Essentially what they're selling is processing power on the blockchain. So if you want to sign up for their website, anything that you have, any machine that you have, you can sell the processing power. And they're building supercomputers using processing power from around the world on the blockchain. Really exciting stuff. So if you have a need for processing power, whatever you may do, machine learning, AI, etc., you can then go in and you can purchase resource power from Golem, which is on their blockchain, and you can essentially run whatever operation you want doing that. Really exciting in terms of resource distribution. Security, Cryptic is one of my favorite security projects on the go at the moment. Cryptic, as an example, they're using blockchain technology to cross cloud storage platforms and then identify where your asset is stored and retrieve it. So you have a passport photo that you decide that you want to keep on your Cryptic platform. You won't even know if it's on AWS, G Drive, OneCloud, anything. You won't know where it is. You'll just know it's with Cryptic. They have multiple cloud platforms fed into the back end, and they track all the document base through their blockchain technology. They also encrypt those documents at document level. So if you have one document or 1,000 documents, every single one of them is encrypted on different cloud platforms. And really, from a security point of view, you'll see where this is going. It gets more and more complicated for anyone who wants to introduce malware attack, hack your network, whatever the case may be. For individuals, it might be overkill, but for some organizations, I know they're taking it very seriously. Auditing we've covered, reporting and compliance we've covered. So key milestones. So the first cloud computing blockchain project was launched in June 2017. September 2017, IBM launched their blockchain startup program. Don't know if any of you are familiar with that. But if you go onto IBM blockchain, Google it, you'll come across their blockchain startup program. For anyone who's using their own blockchain projects at the moment, definitely worthwhile a look. It's relatively easy to get through. Done it twice now, and you can get up to $120,000 as a grant for your blockchain project to use within IBM's blockchain development platforms, and it is really beneficial. There's a few hoops you have to jump through. You've got to prove you're not a scam. You've got to prove you're not some random guy on the other side of the world who's just going to launch an ICO and then run away afterwards. Don't know if anyone knows BitConnect. So, blockchain-based storage available for $2.41 in October 17 compared to AWS's $30 for the same volume that is 1 terabyte. That was Sia Coin. Don't know if anyone knows it, but again, you can, similar idea to Golem. You have spare storage on whatever your computing facilities are. You can sell that storage to the Sia platform and you'll get paid for selling them that storage. They then sell that storage to somebody else. It's completely ring-fenced in a bubble. Nobody can see what's on your computing. Nobody can see you can't see what's on theirs. And you're essentially selling your storage for what is blockchain cryptocurrency. People are buying that storage for a fraction of the price, less than 10% of what you'd pay for AWS storage. Free blockchain-based virtual computing software, February 2018. Again, a really exciting one. So there's a private health company in Norway that are actually already using this. They've launched it throughout all of their hospitals. That's Friend Up, if you haven't heard of it. Again, you can go on and you can try out their virtual machines right now for free. It's not the best. I've seen a lot better virtual machines out there, but considering it's free and it's on the blockchain in terms of how you share documentation through it, how you share your programming, your resources, it's quite good. And they've got a long way to go, but it's exciting stuff. So a blockchain business was named in top 10 security enterprises. Again, Cryptech, I've mentioned them. They're a project to keep an eye on. I in particular quite like that one. And then finally, IBM. Just this month, I've signed a £740 million deal with the Australian government, and they're going to run all Australian government's data security on the blockchain. It's a long deal. It's not instant. It's I think it's 4 years in the making. They've got to design and implement the solutions, but that's exciting. That's it's one of the biggest governments in the world. It's openly acknowledging that blockchain is the future, and they've just paid IBM $740 million out of their own pocket to make that so. So that's my examples. Where do I think the future of blockchain is going to go? Cryptocurrency. Do I think cryptocurrency is going to stick around in the long run? No, I don't. That's where I work. That's where I make my money at the moment. But to be honest, that's a short game. You've got, I reckon, probably about 2 years left. 2 years before IBM, Amazon, Walmart, and I've listed them out down the bottom here. All these guys are snapping up patents in the blockchain space. Plus, no doubt all of you guys as well are moving into the blockchain space and building your own blockchain enterprises. IBM, they've got about 35 patents at the moment. Amazon have got about 50 that they've applied for. Even Walmart's looking to make your shopping experience better on the blockchain. So, do I think cryptocurrency will be around in the future? Not as we know it, is my short answer. ICOs, are the days of ICO raise over? Have regulations and wiser investors dried up the gold mine? We started off this talk saying that probably about 90% of ICOs in 2017 had no product behind them. And they were literally launching an idea. Up until now, I think that's probably about a 50-50 space. I think that ICOs, as they are at the moment, will not continue for the long term. I think over the next year to 2 years, ICOs will morph and look more like STOs in the way that you tie equity in. You don't just buy tokens that you can use on somebody's platform. You don't just buy tokens that's a utility in the hope that the token value is going to go up or down or sideways, whatever. I think you're going to have some real tangible equity share in a business to invest the kind of money that we're talking about at the moment. Everyone familiar with EOS? Anyone familiar with EOS? $4 billion they raised in their ICO. You know, what possible business needs $4 billion for development? It's crazy. So, yeah, I think ICOs, they may still be around, but not as we know them today. STOs, I do have a long-term outlook for. I think STOs are going to replace IPOs as we know it. So security token offering, where essentially you launch a public sale offering tokenized assets or tokenized portions of your equity to the public. I think that in the long term is far more tangible and far more beneficial to an investor in terms of you buying a piece of an organization. You're not buying one of their tokens that can be used wherever the case may be. So I think in the long run, that could well be something to keep an eye on. And then, as I say, enterprise organizations, IBM, Intel, Amazon, Walmart, all snapping up blockchain patents. People are going to think of things that they don't. People are going to move faster than they will. They're big clumbering beasts. All I would be aware of is that if you don't have a good project that's going to have a decent roadmap, move fast, then you're going to struggle to keep up with the big guys. a little bit of, well, maybe not fun, but a little bit of stats down the bottom. In January 2018, world population was 7.5 billion. 5 billion people used mobile phones. 4 billion people used the internet. 3 billion people use social media. Just short of that number use social media on their mobile phones. And only 28.5 million people were in cryptocurrency. So 0.38% of the world's population. That figure is based on both Bitcoin wallet downloads and Coinbase downloads, and that was pulled off of a Cointelegraph article. So it'll be different now. I suspect we're probably looking more like 90 million, maybe a bit more now. But the emphasis there is this is a very new space to be in, and we're all here now today. So I said I was going to talk about how blockchain is being used in business at the moment, what the future of blockchain is going to be in my eyes. I hope you guys found it interesting. I appreciate your time. If anybody wants it, one of my projects is offering free tokens to anyone who wants to take a scan. It's not a lot, it's about $1.50, but it does get you onto their platform, and their platform is going to be used for airdrops in the future. So if you sign up, you can get free tokens moving forward. They're not on exchanges at the moment. They're not got an ICO. It's not an investment pitch. It's just, here's some tokens to play around with on our platform. Okay, any questions? Go on.
I think just for continuity, we're going to go straight into Harry's talk, and then we'll do joint Q&A at the end. So we're going to hand over to do some Q&A now. So I think, firstly, thanks so much, Harry. Thanks so much. You've had so much. You've given us a great overview of the business of blockchain and the business applications in the future, where that's going. Harry, given us a view under the hood of how I actually make that work. And so, guys, I want to hand over to you guys for questions. So, who's first? Amazing. Just state your name and please. Yeah. So just your name, where you're from, and then the question. Thanks so much.
Hi, I'm Al from Hot Glue Technologies. I have a question for the first speaker, actually, about some of the examples you gave for these coins involve real-world products and things. So, like the gold and silver trading thing. It's like, okay, so now you create a virtual representation of it, and you can sell that or whatever. Where's the real thing go?
This one on you. So the particular example that I gave you there for the gold and silver, that business Astoya, they have vaults in London and Switzerland, and they're also in the process of purchasing one in Singapore, where they're going to keep the actual gold and silver. And the purpose of this is that where you sell gold and silver at the moment, one of the highest costs, where you own and where you sell gold and silver at the moment, one of the highest costs is one, custody. Where do you keep it and how do you keep it safe? And two, transit. If you sell it to somebody, you have to send it to them. So at the moment, there's a couple of options there. One is you sign it over to them. You both have to go and attend the vault, inspect it, etc., etc., etc. And at the moment, these guys have vaults in London and Switzerland where they will sell the tokenized version of the gold or the silver as an investment, and then that token represents the asset. You transfer it, and the new holder then can go and visit their gold or silver, or they can just be happy in the knowledge that it's there with a underwritten and legal company. So that's one example. It's probably a good example of it. There's other ones out there. There's a business that I spoke to reasonably recently. It dealt with artwork. Funny enough, for what Harry's recent example, they were tokenizing art and the buying and selling of art. And essentially it was, you can own a piece of artwork that is on display in a museum, you can own a piece of artwork that is on display and even in somebody's private estate. But at the moment, if you want to buy or sell that art, it has to go to auction. Then the new owner would typically go and bring it back, and then they could put it out to a museum or they could put it out to an art display. These guys are, again, tokenizing it, and the token represents that piece of art. That in particular company said that their target is to tokenize the Mona Lisa. Now, best of luck to them. I can't see it. I can't see them going for it. But you know, there is physical assets on the back of asset-backed tokens. Now, not all tokens in cryptocurrencies are asset-backed. Some of them are backed. So some of them are based on value of token is in reality to a digital thing. So you could have processing power, storage. Some of it is literally used for gas or for gas. Gas is a term that typically gets used for Neo or for even Ethereum and things like that, where you're using that token as a currency for the platform. So to pay for your usage of the Ethereum network, as Harry pointed out, you would use your Ethereum tokens for that transaction, and you'd be charged at that. So depending on the nature of the business represents how that in particular token is valued and how it's used. Does that help at all?
Yeah. It's going back to like the gold and silver thing. How does this differ from like a bank, where you get a bit of paper that says this is worth a little sliver of gold in a vault, and we're going to look after it for you, and we're the single point of failure? So
it comes back to immutability and to speed of transaction and things like that. So a bank at the moment can hold your money, your currency, your assets for you, and can put on a bit of paper. That bit of paper can be lost, it can be corrupted. If the bank has a malware attack, then it can be manipulated, held hostage, whatever the case may be. I'm using malware and things like that. When I say a bit of paper, I mean a record. I'm not actually meaning a physical bit of paper. The blockchain-based tokenized assets are immutable, as we discussed. And then also you have the speed of transaction. So the platforms, for Astoya is the example that we're going on to, they can transfer assets in real time. There's the point that Harry raised around transaction speed, block size, so it could take a few minutes, but that's better than having to contact a bank, having to sign documentation, having to go over due diligence, etc., etc. If you have the finances and the capital to buy a bit of gold, you can go onto this platform, buy a bit of gold off of somebody at whatever they're willing to sell it at that time, and you will receive that gold, and you will be the owner of that gold as soon as you receive the token within minutes. And then everyone throughout the world, based on the blockchain, can go and have a look at the blockchain, see who owns what gold and where it's kept, all that sort of good stuff. But
see how much gold I own and where it's kept.
Yeah, exactly. So it depends. It depends on how privacy you want, what token you'll use.
I know some gold and silver buyers, and they do it specifically because they can bury it in their garden. And know exactly where it is and who's got it,
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that still do that, and there's a novelty in that as well. So.
Yeah, sure. Okay, thank you.
Cheers.
There's definitely a certain immutability of having it buried in the garden, but
yeah,
cool. Thanks, Carl. Questions? Christian.
Right. So I have I read about this new consensus mechanism, which is proof of space and time. It's being developed by some researcher. Actually, I would like to get some input out of both of you, right? For Kyle, because you did some research, obviously, on tokens which utilize the empty storage that people have on their hard drives. And so the idea of proof of space and time is that you use the empty storage that people have to mine the coin. And like the concept is that people have a lot of empty storage, so there wouldn't be an incentive to do buy and make farms for farming the coin, because people can just do it inherently because there's a lot of empty storage. Do you know if there's a lot, like how effective are the coins that offer storage space based on this?
So I'm not familiar with the term, but the concept that you've described I am familiar with. There's actually a really good project down in England that are doing something very similar. And in terms of success of tokens that I've seen, I haven't actually seen any token that works on that basis be successful so far. Now I'm aware of them, and it's because they're in their infancy. It might be too early to tell if those things are going to be successful or not. Now, I think it's a great idea. I think you look at Bitcoin mining farms as an example. Some ridiculously big ones that are pulling out 300 million in investment simply to open up a farm and just set up a load of servers with a load of processing power that can literally just rally through. If there's a process there where you can then put your hand up and say, I'm happy to join a mining pool or whatever the case may be, you can use my processing power, or I work for a company and I'm on the night shift and I know that they only use 10% of their servers, so I'm going to fire out the other 90% in my spare time, anything. It makes total sense to me, use efficiency, use capacity management. If you have availability there, use it. I think that those kind of concepts will be successful, but then it depends on how big a fish you're going to be in the big wide world. So you see £300 million mining farms being set up in America and things like that. Is, somebody sitting in their basement joining a local mining pool going to be able to compete with those guys? Probably not. If the mining pool gets big enough, who knows?
Yeah, maybe Harry, because you're the technical guy, have you heard about the concept and do you have some like, outside input? Because I just read the paper, and I would love to, maybe chat to somebody about
I mean,
this.
I don't think I've read the paper, but the concept
Right.
sounds very familiar. Uh, I don't have an answer to whether it's going to be successful or not, but it's going to be a reverse question to you, and then I'll probably ask you, to what extent or to what need is such a token being launched? What is the point of it?
To essentially facilitate this decentralization, because as Kyle said, 300 million forming forms, right? It's getting more and more centralized. You lose this, empowering the people, and the idea of this consensus method is that there's so many people have so much free space, it wouldn't make sense to build a farm around this. So to essentially empower the users again, as Bitcoin originally intended.
So, because space or storage space is nothing but dumb circuits that you store stuff on. So, does the consensus work by how much storage you have, and how much different storage?
Yeah, essentially, the more free space you have on your hard drive, the more you are going to contribute to the consensus.
Okay. Well, then I don't think it's gonna take off, because if it does, then Amazon probably will own most of the tokens.
That was my thinking as well, right? Yeah.
I think consensus algorithms should be something that everyone has an equal right to. Hence, us going away from the synchronicity of the most consensus algorithms that are out there. Because you, just with a mobile phone, should technically have the same rights or the same laws as someone with a server farm which takes 300 million. That is the point of decentralization. Otherwise, we are trying to go away from capitalism to just create a bigger, much more bloated version of capitalism.
Seems like that's at the moment.
There seems to be this sort of continual cycle of creation and destruction of new paradigms. That it becomes decentralization, and then a good idea kind of gets picked up, gets mass adoption, and then it becomes almost re-centralized around new nodes, and that cycle seems to be picking up. Next question.
Oh, by the way, guys, I just remembered something. The slides ended abruptly because I think I deleted one by mistake in the end. I was going to talk about use cases, I just remembered, because that was there as well. I touched on that point there. Yeah, anyways, sorry.
I mean, if you want to share a use case.
I don't know where the slide went, to be honest.
It obviously wasn't on the blockchain.
This is a quick question for Harry.
Yeah.
So with this app, the user can sign up and say, "This is my photograph. Look for it on the internet." It's maybe not a blockchain question as such. How can you search the internet so quickly to find similarities between like pictures and?
Okay. Well, I wouldn't be giving my patent away if I told you.
Okay.
But the idea is pretty simple. Most distributed searching algorithms, what happens is there is one governing entity, and you divide the entire internet into subspaces essentially, and you give these smaller spiders, let's call them, to search these random parts of the internet. They all come and report back to the central entity, and the central entity kind of like joins it together and creates a record. So Google was the major invention in search algorithms with their PageRank in 1999.
Sure.
PageRank in 1999, which was up until then no algorithm had like been able to search so fast or so efficiently. But kind of taking from the whole principle of blockchain itself, like the decentralization itself, the way on a higher level my algorithm works is there is no governing entity, and everyone who is using the platform kind of becomes a spider themselves.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm not asking you to mine my coins, mine my tokens, because you don't really need to, and even if you do, you can probably run it on your phone. But if you're giving me 2% extra processing power and I give you discounted rates, wouldn't you want to? So that's how the algorithm works. But if you want to get into a little bit more technical nitty-gritty, just catch me after.
Cheers.
Cool, go.
Hi, my name's Daniel. I was just wondering, with the a big issue over, the quite a while for now, in the cryptocurrency space has been the scaling issue. So we've seen side chains, Lightning Network, all this stuff, increased block sizes. Where does that end, and where do you see the consensus in the community? It just seems to be the next sort of solution after the next sort of solution with massive disagreements at every step. So where does it come to a head? Where do you see it coming to a head? For either of you.
You want to go first? Or?
Sure. It's a good question. I don't see it coming to a head, essentially. I think it will end up being some sort of an arms race, if you like. So Harry pulled out examples of transaction speeds in his talk. You can look at the other side of that. There's blockchain projects out there that are hitting transaction speeds of upwards of 40,000 transactions per second right now. If you look at Komodo, EOS is banding around 1 million per second, whether you believe that or not.
I hope so. I've got some.
Well, yeah. So yeah, I'll believe that when I see it. I think the Lightning networks, again, it's a band-aid over or a plaster over the Bitcoin blockchain. It's not developing a new technology. It's looking at the existing technology and how can we shoehorn it to make it work to the current needs. I think, as opposed to coming to a head, somebody's going to crack it, and somebody's going to get to the point of saying, right, we've looked at it, we've looked at a different methodology, could be blockchain 3.0, could be blockchain 12.0, I don't know how far it will go, but I think that blockchain as it is won't come to an amalgamation of all the different tokens and all the different projects fighting with each other to try and find a solution. I think there will only be one. I'm looking at it right now and I'm seeing, I think what we're up to now, 7,500 cryptocurrencies listed publicly, probably double that, 3 times that blockchain projects around the world that are running in isolation without the whole ICO propagation. I think in 2-3 years from now, the cryptocurrency space is going to go from 7,500 down to maybe 50, less than that. I think there's going to be a shed loads of projects that are going to go bust. I think there's going to be a shed loads of projects that are going to run out of funding, or they're going to be unable to meet their roadmap or unable to meet their goals, and people are just going to drop them. I think at that point, 2-3 years maybe, we'll have a better idea of what the future of blockchain is going to be. Right now, we are in the infancy. I pulled up the figures in terms of the amount of people that are involved in blockchain. I think there'll be something new. I guess I don't think it'll be an adaptation of what's currently there, using side chains and all the rest of it. Harry, I don't know if you've got a view on that too.
Well, to a certain extent, I agree with Kyle. Looking at the space, it's very, very divided in the sense of people who want to build on it just because they can, and then they come up with these unique things. But I'll just go back to the 1990s. I was probably not even born. I was born in 1996, so I don't know much about it. But the way any technological innovation works is what we call a bubble. It's a simple peak up and down. In the infancy, adopters are slow. Rewards are not enough. People start seeing it. Hence, these 7,500 cryptocurrencies come up. They recognize the space that the early innovators came up with. A technology is not born out of the first application that was built on it. Bitcoin was the first application built on top of the blockchain idea. And people took that idea and are running with it. They are obsessing over tokens, everything. After a certain point of time, as Kyle said earlier, they're not going to meet their roadmaps, blah, 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 and it's going to fail. And then all it's going to be is its true essence, which is offering those 3 qualities why it actually took off in the first place. Not the application side of it, but how it's going to revolutionize the underlying architecture of what things are now. Internet is there. There's nothing that's going to change the way internet works. It's going to change the way we interact with it. It's going to make our interactions effortless, seamless, but it's not going to change internet itself. You will have these we call them first world applications that are going to come up, but 95, 98, 99% of them are going to fail, and only the ones that are actually contributing to the service itself, to improving the service itself, are going to stick. And now which is going to be which, I don't know.
Loads of questions, we guys. Onto
Thanks for either actually. So there are many ICOs, and at this point, of time, many have, raised billions and stuff like that. But this raises an operational question, right? Like how can you, manage this, if you were EOS, basically, how can you manage, some billions, of tokens sitting in your wallet? For example, it brings operational questions like, if you're having at least 9 developers, right? At the end of the month, you have to pay, 40K, in their salaries. How can you, extract this money from Ether and, pay them in pounds?
Are you asking?
I mean, it's one of the operational, questions that ICOs and community, tokens are bringing.
So, as I said, I've worked on a number of projects. The vast majority of projects I work with pay their employees in cryptocurrency. So I think the question that you're relating to is liquidity. So how, if EOS, as an example, as you stated, had 100 million EOS tokens in their wallet, and that was their operational running funds, are you asking how they then achieve liquidity to then have fiat currency to do whatever their operational...
If you're a legal, company, like you have so many expenses, right?
The answer is the obvious one. So if you look at the EOS ICO, they're 4 billion, the vast majority of that, in fact, I think all of it, come to mind, is Ethereum. They took all of their investment on Ethereum. Now, I could be wrong on that, but that's definitely the vast majority of it. Towards the end of their ICO, I can't remember what month it was, maybe April, it was actually seen that there was an EOS transaction of something like $140 million that went from EOS's wallet, EOS's Ethereum wallet, to an exchange and sold. And you remember it, yeah? Yeah. So that's them achieving their liquidity. That's them getting the liquidity out of the funds that they've got in cryptocurrency. Now that's not going to be how they pay their staff. They're not going to liquidate $140 million to pay their staff.
Yeah.
I don't know for a fact with EOS, but I suspect they probably pay their staff in EOS tokens as well. All the projects I've worked with pay their team in tokens, with the exception of contractors. Contractors, when you're developers and all that. Developers are hard to come by the way, guys. Anyone who's looking for a job who can do back-end chain development, give me a shout. I can get you a job in no time. Your developers typically they've got the luxury of being a specialised resource, a limited, finite skill set at the moment, and they can demand paying in fiat currency. But beyond that, every project I've worked with so far has paid their staff in tokens. It's a pain in the arse for me. So me personally, I've actually got an accountant that deals with cryptocurrency. I'm having to keep luckily it's immutable, so I have to then take the tokens. You have to take a timestamp of the token value at the point you get given it, and essentially, etc., etc. So if I have a token that I get paid, that's a taxable transaction. So I have to take the tax. I take the value of that token at the point of getting paid. That goes on my tax return. Then if I turn that into fiat, that's another taxable transaction. So if it goes up, then I have to lose it. If it goes down, then it becomes a bit of a tax write-off. And yeah, it's interesting. Sorry, extra question.
Guys, I'm just looking at the time. I think should we save whatever additional questions to networking time? We can have those over beer if you guys are all right with that.
Yeah.
All right, cool, guys, fantastic. Thanks so much, Carl and Harry. You guys have been amazing. Giving us a business and technical overview of the IoT space. Guys, if you enjoyed tonight, if you're taking pictures, please make sure you tweet, share on LinkedIn, all the social media channels, hashtag IOT-EDI33 and hashtag DLT-EDI7. Watch this space. Thanks so much for coming. Thanks to Skyscanner again for hosting us and for the pizza and beer. And we'll see you guys next time. Thanks a lot.